We're talking about breaking down claims and practices and talking about the connection between them. This first example that we got is wonderful, which is education can happen anywhere, and the practice that we pull out of it is so there could be a benefit to learning in situations outside of class. Essentially, what this exam is looking at is, can you find claims inside of practices and then use those claims as a lens for examining practices? Did anybody else have a claim that they were wondering about? Jake, I saw you flip it.
Mine was nobody learns the same, and then I went on to say that the practices that we, like a typical classroom has desks all facing the same way and all facing toward the podium and the teacher. And then I went on to argue that how does it accommodate students that learn better in group tables or like work better in like collaborative circles.
So you're saying because nobody is just like anybody else in learning, let's talk about the way that we organize classrooms. Maybe there are some people who are really good at looking forward, not having the distraction of anybody else, and getting content from a teacher. But what about the people who are more socially stimulated learners and want to learn this way? Is that accurate? Yeah. So let's explore this for a second. Which kinds of people, what orientations, what inclinations would respond well to this?
Maybe more like shyer people who like to be by themselves.
Right, well, yeah, it's nice to be able to hide behind a row of people. Rows are made, they're like a choose your own level of shyness. If you're a very low level shy, you're like, I'm going to stick myself essentially right in the middle of the teaching zone. And if you're like, oh, please, please, please don't talk to me, then you just hide in a dark corner of the back room. How many people were dark corner people? Sides and corners? Yeah. And look, oh, you've all sort of distributed out there as well. How many were front and center people? So this is what the linear classroom sets up, a lack of social immediacy that may be good for learners who are distracted by interaction with people. Jake threw out the alternative of group work. Tell me about this.
So we would have like groups of 3 or 4, and then we have like a proposition sheet of like all the stuff we've proved before. And using this, we have to like prove what we're trying to do. And he'll like walk around the classroom and or ask us questions and provide us with like some hints as like where we're going. But for the most part, it's just like us doing our own work with our group. And I think for me that helps because it's just like I'm able to communicate with like my classmates and my friends, and it's like we can just get more work done.
So you found it to be a more efficient and energizing educational experience. Yeah. Anybody not feel that way about the group table experience?
It was usually in elementary school where like classrooms were bigger and you can like group desks all together to like be in clumps. And I talk a lot, so my teacher would always put me like not next to my friends. And I always got the shy people who never wanted to participate. They were all in my group because apparently I was supposed to encourage them to participate more in class and to like help them with their homework. So I was just in a group with a bunch of people who didn't want to talk to me, and I don't think it was very conducive for my learning experience, but like I hope like they learned something when I like helped them. But okay. For me, it like just didn't do anything.
Are you saying that this could have worked for you if it had been orchestrated differently?
Yes.
Where you weren't put in a control role and burdened with a bunch of educational responsibility?
Yeah.
So, any other claim help to make sense or question what she's talking about now?
I put uneven power structure in classrooms creates a sense of superiority which undermines learning in the environment.
Uneven power structure creates a sense of superiority. So how do we use this claim to question this practice?
When I was doing group work, it'd be like one smart person with a bunch of people who weren't as good as the subject, and then we space out like that. So then, obviously, one person knows everything, so everyone just like looks to them.
If you're ever looking for claims, listen for words like obviously, all the time, everybody knows. So when we say, obviously they're the smarter ones, this is what we were talking about. Obviously they're the smarter ones, why? Let's expand that. How did you know they were the smarter ones in the classroom?
Because they performed better on the tests.
So we have tests, and then we have teachers who are then taking these students and treating them like the smarter ones, right? Here's your test. excellent. Next thing is that we put you in a control position. And next thing is we make you valedictorian. And next da 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 da. What happens to these students around there? They go lower and lower and lower. And they're like, oh man, I'm getting all the extra help. I'm clearly not valedictorian because the valedictorian's helping me. We are labeling people. We are creating this uneven power structure. So what is our question, comment, critique of this? We've seen at least 2 classrooms in the US where it is a common practice to create groups, but then say, this is the designated smart person in that group. How are we using the claims that no one is like anyone else and an uneven power structure creates a sense of superiority to question this?
Well, then the person who is then the designated leader of the group obviously knows that they are. So then the people who are not the designated leader obviously know why they're in that group.
Why is this problematic for learning? Anybody? Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem for people who are smart to know they're smart and people who are stupid to know they're stupid? Right?
Because it's not true.
Because it's not true? Right? Because no one is just like anyone else in learning. And if we're using one test to test everybody, we're saying this is the person who's best at the test, and we're going to reinforce that. It keeps us from developing, right? Okay. So this is great. This is how this format works. Does everybody understand? Somewhat? Okay. Any questions? Does anybody now feel uncomfortable with the exam that they have written as it has been written? No? Okay.